time now for everybody's favorite guessing game, What's My Line? Brought to you by Remington Rand, makers of the revolutionary new Remington Rolectric. Now let's all play What's My Line?
Now let's meet our award-winning What's My Line panel. First, the delightful star of stage and television, Miss Arlene Francis.
And now a gentleman who went into production today with a new play, The Hidden River. But most importantly, he has been at my left, on my left for 10 years, my husband, Martin Gabel.
And on my left, one of New York's most famous ladies, Miss Dorothy Kilgallen.
Thank you, Martin. And on my left, someone who needs no introduction, our beloved panelist, who is also a publisher, Mr. Bennett, Cerf.
Oh, Marty, Arlene, I knew your husband was going to get here someday. And on my left, a gentleman who's just had a prolonged vacation in Mexico, 2 whole days. Our panel moderator, newscaster, Mr. John Charles Davis.
Good evening. Actually, one thing, even at the risk of having it sound a bit like a commercial that I wanted to talk about, I got into Mexico City Friday night. I went down for the opening of the new Continental Hilton Hotel. And this is a new culture, American culture, is a new one, North American culture, and this is an old world. And yet to show how small the world is and how much we're a part of it, I went up to my room and pulled back the curtains, and a big sign said Remington Rand. Well, we've got Arlene and her husband tonight to fool, so I think we ought to get down to the business of the evening immediately, because we'd like to see what we can do with this husband and wife team. Both very brainy and very nice people, but we'd like to knock them around a bit if we can. We're going to have a famous mystery guest before the panel a bit later in the show, and we'll meet our first challenger in just 30 seconds. And now let us meet our first contestant. Will you come in and sign in, please? Thank you, Mr. X. And I think since we're going to use Mr. X, we won't ask any questions about where you came from, and I promise to get the people to buy some more chalk. Will you come over here and sit down with me, please? Are you familiar with our scoring system? Yeah. Fine. On that basis, let's let the people at home and those who've been nice enough to come and join us in the theater know exactly what your line is. All right. Panel. Mr. X is self-employed, and let's begin the general questioning with Bennett, Cerf.
Mr. X, your face looks vaguely familiar to me. Is it a face that we have seen in photographs in the newspapers within the past year?
I would say it's possible, Bennett, but we wouldn't be able to guarantee that you have or haven't.
Would it be rather in the theater and book sections than the front page?
Small conference. I think there we would have to say that it's possible again, but at the same time, we can't rule out the front page.
We can't. Would it be, have you written a book within the past 2 years?
Have you written a book in the last 2 years?
Everybody else has. I don't know.
No. There's 1 down and 9 to go. Miss Francis.
Mr. X, are you a professional man?
Yes.
Do you have to have a degree in order to carry on the work that you do?
No.
No. 2 down and 8 to go. Mr. Martin Gabel.
People come to you for you to exercise your professional services for them.
Not always.
That would be yes and no, wouldn't it?
Yes and no.
Do they come to you more often than you go to them?
I think, actually, Martin, if you don't mind, this is one where we could get into such equations as to just tangle things up.
Is the professional service that you perform, is that a mental service rather than a physical one?
Yes.
There is, yes, it's more. There is a physical application, as there is in most instances, but actually it is fundamentally a mental exercise.
When you perform your service, you have a piercing eye, Mr. X. When you perform your service, does your patient or the object of your attention change in his attitude in the course of your services?
Martin, I wish you hadn't asked that question.
I wish I hadn't too, John.
Good, withdraw.
Deeper in the dark. I withdraw.
All right, fine.
Do you perform your service indoors? As a rule.
Indoors, yes.
Is it more applicable to men or to women?
That can be answered yes or no. Do you want to ask, is it more
Is it more applicable to men?
No.
No.
Not necessarily.
No. 3 down and 7 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Could any one of us on this panel enjoy or avail ourselves of your services?
I hope so.
You could certainly, yes.
I hope so. I don't know.
Do you ever use writing paper in your work?
In a general way, yes.
Most time, I must use writing.
Yeah.
Would you use a kind of paper that would have a more specific term than just writing paper?
Yes.
Would you have anything to do with the world of music?
Yes.
Are you a musician?
Yes.
Are you also a composer?
Yes.
Well, now it's the stupidity department going. Do you compose what would loosely be termed popular rather than classical music?
Sometime.
In the loose characterization, certainly some of our guests' work is in the popular field.
Do you also compose something that might be played on the concert stage?
No, lately.
No, I would not say that at present we could say that. That's 4 down and 6 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Have you ever done the score of a musical show?
No.
That makes it 5 down and 5 to go, Miss Francis.
Have we made it clear that Mr. X is a writer rather than a conductor? Was that made clear?
It is agreed that he writes and
that
composes.
He writes?
Yeah.
Have you ever written a song that has been on the hit parade?
Yes.
Are you on the hit parade at the present time?
Yes.
I can't get beyond Green Door. Have you ever written anything that Elvis Presley has sung?
No, unfortunately.
No, I guess that unfortunately, no. 6 down and 4 to go, Mr. Gabel.
Are you a member of the American Society of Composers and Publishers?
No.
BMI composer.
No.
Pardon me. All right, that's 7 down and 3 to go, but it was a very good question.
BMI?
No, did you ask if he was BMI?
I asked if he was BMI.
Are you?
Oh, no.
No.
He's not ASCAP, and he's not BMI?
No.
He's all by himself.
Not possible.
He writes singing commercials.
Yeah.
He does?
Yeah, this is the singing commercial writer to end all singing commercial writers. His name is Dimitri Tiomkin.
Oh.
Yes, Martin.
Mr. Tiomkin has written scores, many great scores for pictures, haven't you, Mr.
Yes.
Oh, actually, what, High Noon and High and Mighty, these have become classic in modern American music, and the hit parade area now is The Friendly Persuasion. He did the score for the picture and of course, wrote the song.
And he's not ASCAP or BMI?
No, I'm a member of French society called Cerf.
Oh, I see.
Mr. Tiomkin, forgive me, but are you not the gentleman that made the marvelous speech at the award dinners last
That's
year?
yeah.
Repeat the speech for us. Come on.
Let me set the scene before you do it.
Yes, you set the scene.
Actually, Mr. Tiomkin won Oscars for his work, and very properly so, and was called to the podium to receive his Oscar for his compositions in the field of the movies. And Mr. Tiomkin then said at the microphone,
You see, I was a little bit nervous, and then also I was a little bit reluctant to make compliments to my producer, whom I consider very times my enemies, and my director the same thing. So I decided to thank people who really seriously believe every composer in special popular field and in special motion picture is entitled to remember sometimes. So I begin to speak to very serious and very extremely highbrow musical circles of Hollywood, remember to them about Beethoven, Brahms, so I think Beethoven, Brahms, Mozart. Then I said about Johann Strauss. Then some people know Richard Strauss. Then I speak about little Oscar Strauss. So then they begin to laugh, and I'm knowing a little bit vaudeville game, begin to mention maybe 50 more names. So that was so loud that when I left, I saw very mad face of Bob Hope and of Jerry Lewis. Then I was real happy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tiomkin. Panel, I think we gave you a rough time with that. Let's see what we can do with the second challenger. Will you come in and sign in, please? Isabel Hemphill, is that right? Miss or Mrs.? Mrs. Hemphill, where are you from?
San Francisco,
San
California.
Francisco? Oh, you lucky person. What a wonderful city. Would you come over here and join me, and you can sort of take a good look at the panel as you tell me whether or not you know how we keep score.
Yes, I do.
Fine, then let's let the folks at home and our friends here in the theater know exactly what your line is. All right, panel. Mrs. Hemphill is self-employed, and let's begin the general questioning with Martin Gabel.
Is there a product connected with what you do?
Yes, there is.
Is it something you do in the employ of a company?
Yes.
Is that company a company interested in making profits?
Yes.
Is it something that is more seasonal and all year round in its usefulness?
Yes, you could say that.
I would say that it's to the degree that you would judge its usefulness by the need for application, you would describe it as seasonal.
Actually, I was thinking of its intrinsic usefulness, John, but I'll let that pass.
Yes, sir.
Or you'll let me pass. Is it something that is more useful to the male sex than to the female?
Yes, I think it would say that.
Is it something that improves the general well-being of the male sex, that portion of the sex that uses it?
I think it might.
Is it something that I would be apt to want to buy for myself?
You might.
Is it something which, when I applied it in whatever form, would improve me in some way?
Well, I'm not going to answer that one, I'll say that. But I just want you to remember, Martin, I didn't answer the next preceding question. So
Not only that, you've been very polite all the way, John.
I would say this, that if you chose to apply it, that you would consider that you were benefited thereby.
I see. Would it be correct to say that wherever I may apply it, it wouldn't be seen?
No, it wouldn't be correct to say. That's one down and 9 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Well, I would like to go on record, first of all, by saying that I don't think Martin could be improved in any way.
Thank you,
But-
Dorothy. I didn't dare. Could be taken the wrong way.
No.
Bennett,
No,
do you
I
feel
mean-
left out at all? I do, a bit.
But if it is something that would show, and it is something that both men and women could use, but men more likely, is that it? Would it be considered an aid to beauty or handsomeness?
I don't think you could call this an aid to beauty or handsomeness. No, 2 down and 8 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Mrs. Hemphill, is it possible that this product is consumable?
No, it is not.
It's
3
not
down and
consumable.
7 to go, Miss Francis.
Mrs. Hempel, is it something that is applied to the person?
No, I wouldn't say
Yes.
too applied.
Yes, it's applied to the
Oh.
person. In its utilization, it has direct reference to
Would
the
it ever
individual.
be considered anything in the apparel department?
It could be considered
Is it
apparel.
something that you put on?
Yes.
Uh-huh. And as my husband discovered, it's something that does not show. Is that
No,
correct?
he asked if it did not show.
Oh,
and
it
he got
does
enough.
show. I'm sorry. I missed that. Martin, I'm not paying attention to you. It's just like at home.
Your name.
It does show, and it is seasonal. Could you ever wear it if you were at the seashore?
I hardly think.
Yes. I mean, actually, as we said, it's seasonal in its use, you know. And if you were at the seashore and felt you needed it, you sure could.
Would you wear it above the waist?
Yes.
Would you, is it made of material?
Yes, it is.
Is it something that in any way protects you against anything else?
Yes.
Yeah.
Does?
Mm-hmm.
I don't mean other people necessarily. Is it something that might come up as high as the neck
No.
on a cold day?
Oh, actually, this isn't fair. I'm going to throw all the cards because you'd never get this one, but it's a joy forever, and Martin's going to... Just remember, Martin, I didn't answer those questions.
It's a bulletproof vest,
Mrs. Hemphill
obviously.
makes nightcaps for bald-headed men.
In about one more year, I'll be ready, John. And there's a few gentlemen around that might join me.
Oh, we will. We'll be with you. We'll be with you, indeed.
John, looks like something one of those movie stars might have left around.
We'll leave that right where it is. Mrs. Hemphill, thank you very much for bringing a very interesting occupation in front of you. Now, in just a moment, we'll meet tonight's mystery. We come to the special feature of our program, the appearance of our mystery celebrity, for which I've asked my friends on the panel to put on their their blindfolds. And are those blindfolds all in place, panel?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Good. Will you come in, mystery challenger, and sign in, please? All right, panel, as you know, in the case of our mystery challenger, we go to a different form of questioning. You ask one question at a time in turn, moving clockwise, and we'll begin it with Dorothy Kilgallen.
Are you in show business?
Yes, I am.
Mr. Cerf?
I presume that's a girl. Is it? Are you a girl? Are you?
What?
Are you a lady?
Sure.
Miss Francis?
Obviously an ingenue. Are you in the field of the theater?
Yeah.
Mr. Gabel?
Are you now appearing in a Broadway play?
Yes, I am.
That's it. Get it right down there, Miss Kilgallen.
Oh. Do you have more than 10 costume changes in it?
No, I don't.
That's 1 down and 9 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Does. Well, is it then a play that has no music in it?
You mean, is it a musical?
No, I say is it a non-musical? If she hasn't got a lot of changes of costume, that would rule out Merman and Holiday.
It's not a musical.
That's what I asked.
Okay, fine. Miss Francis?
Is
But
it
it's got
serious?
music.
What happened? But it's got music.
There's a man whistle. Miss Francis?
Is it serious rather than comic?
Both. Well,
Mr. Gabel?
Has it opened in the past 2 months?
yeah.
Miss Kilgallen?
Oh, dear. Are you an ingenue? Just being funny with your voice?
No.
That makes it 2 down and 8 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Are you also well known in motion pictures?
Yeah.
Miss Francis?
My husband just give me an idea who you are. And since this is his first public appearance on a panel, I'm going to let him go ahead and give you the guess.
All right.
Marty, tell the dame who you think she is.
You notice the range of my wife's talent. Are you Shelley Winters?
Did I sound at all like Marlon Brando?
A little bit.
But your hair was combed too well. That was what gave us trouble. I don't know how you got it down all that way, but it was very well done.
John, if you really want to see Marlon Brando, one of the reasons I came on the show is to get in a plug for the Actors Studio Benefit, which is a week from Tuesday night. It's the opening of Baby Doll at the Victoria Theater, and afterwards at the Waldorf Astoria, there's a big supper dance, and I hope you'll all come to it.
Oh, well, thank you very much for coming to see us, and
Tickets with Marlon Brando. Are you going to be there, Miss Winters?
Yes, I am, sir.
Well, there's Bennett always got the critical and right question, too, and we got the right answer. Thanks a lot for being our guest and for joining us in What's My Line.
Thank you
nice
very
to
much,
see
John.
you, man.
Bye.
Well, now, actually, there are two things that I'd like to do, if I may. One is to remind you that if you're at home and would like to try to puzzle our panel with your occupation, it's simple. Write to What's My Line, CBS 485 Madison Avenue, New York 22, New York. And I can let the other wait a bit, see what we can do with the panel and a very tricky last challenger. Will you come in, please, sir, and sign in? Charles Black. How are you, sir? Now, panel, I will tell you that Mr. Black is from Scotland. Mr. Black, you know how we keep score?
Yes.
Fine, then let's let everybody at home and those in the theater know exactly what Mr. Black's line is. All right, you're very short of time, panel, but this is one you might be able to do very quickly. You'll have something like 2.5 minutes in which to do it. We'll tell you that Mr. Black is self-employed, and let's begin with Miss Arlene Francis.
You didn't tell us where Mr. Black was
Scotland.
from. Oh, from Scotland.
Yes.
Oh, that's nice, isn't it? Mr. Black, do you have any product at all in your work?
No.
None.
Are you in a profession
One down and 9 to go, Mr.
that's
Gabel?
legal in Scotland and illegal here?
Yes.
Oh, bookmaking?
Yes.
Thank
Yes.
you, Martin.
Right.
You're a dear boy.
You're a bookmaker.
Yes.
Well, I'll come right out and get home for it.
Martin. Having attended the races in the British Isles from time to time, that was really more or less the only profession I could think of in England.
Does Mr. Black look particularly like a bookmaker
There
over
is
there?
no way that a bookmaker looks, John. I've lost to them all.
But you can spot them real quick, huh? Well, Mr. Black, certainly the first thing we do is flip all these. They can't do that to anybody who comes all the way from Scotland to see us now. How long are you in the States for?
Another fortnight.
Another fortnight.
Yeah.
You like it
No,
here?
John, ask
Very
him
much.
to do some of the signals. Would you do a signal or two for us the way you do in the making book in London?
Well,
Because it's so different from the way we do it.
I don't. You're not allowed to do it at all here, are you?
We're not allowed to do it at all. That's what I mean when I say it's so different.
Let's say that
Well, that's evens.
Even? The bet is even.
That's 5 to 4.
5 to 4.
That's 6 to 4.
Uh-huh.
That's 7 to 4. And that's 5 to 2.
Uh-huh. And that's it.
Yeah,
That
that's
5
wonderful.
to 2 is very dangerous, isn't it?
That 5 to
Well, it
2.
is a close.
What do you do when you stick your fingers in your eye? What a silly question that was. Thank you very much, Mr. Black. I'm sorry we didn't give him the hand. Here is the other thing I wanted to do. I think you all are familiar with the details. The president has asked the American people to raise $5 million in emergency funds to help those who are fighting for freedom in Hungary. The Red Cross, as you know, is a part of the great American campaign and effort to get some help to the Hungarians who are going to need shelter and food and medicines and in great quantities because they're still fighting for freedom. What it comes down to is that we can't do better than $5 million for these people who are fighting for the principles we believe in, and I think perhaps we had better all duck our heads in shame. So talk to your Red Cross or to CARE or to your church and send the money where you're told to send it and send as much as you possibly can. And now, until next week, this is John Daly saying good night, Miss Arlene.
Good night, John. And Martin, I think it's terribly revealing that you would know a bookmaker as soon as you saw one.
I'll hear about this.
I'll speak to you about that some other time. Good night, dear.
What do you mean, good night? Good night, Dorothy.
Good night, Martin. Come again. Good night, Bennett.
Martin, I'll tell you about some other kind of bookmakers later.
All right, and now, just to show you I'm mixed up tonight, let's hear a word from our alternate sponsor before we go home. Good night, ladies and gentlemen, and thanks for being with us on What's My Line.
Travel arrangements on What's My Line are made through American Airlines. American Airlines flies our contestants in luxurious comfort aboard DC-7 flagships. This has been a Mark Goodson built.